All right, so you ready to get a little bit dark today?
I think so.
Okay.
Always up for a good deep dive.
Perfect. Because today we are going deep into the world of Squid Game.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, but we're not actually going back to the games themselves.
No.
Yeah, this time we're all about the money.
The money, huh?
Yep. Specifically that giant 45.6 billion won prize.
Okay, I'm in. I'm listening.
So we've got articles here from Time, Yahoo, and Screen Rant. And basically all these articles are talking about season 2.
Makes sense. It's been a huge topic.
It really has. And you know what they are all wondering? What that mountain of cash actually means. Like in the real world, you know?
Going beyond just like basic currency conversions.
Exactly. That's what we are doing today. We are going to uncover what winning that kind of money would actually look like in South Korea. Like for real.
Okay, that's a great angle. Really gets you thinking, you know? We see crazy sums of money in movies and TV all the time. But Squid Game really makes you stop and think, what would that kind of wealth actually do to someone's life? Especially in a place like South Korea.
Yeah, like how would your life actually change? So let's start with the basics. Right now, today, as we're recording this, 45.6 billion, one equals about 31.5 million US dollars.
Wow. Okay, that's still
a huge amount.
Oh yeah, definitely life-changing, no question.
Yeah, no doubt. But here's where things get interesting.
Okay, tell me.
The one, it's actually hit like a 15-year low against the dollar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so back in 2021, when the first season came out, that same prize would have been worth over $38 million.
Whoa, so they would have gotten a lot more money back then.
Yeah, a lot more. It's
Yeah.
crazy how much it's changed. Right?
Yeah, that's a huge difference. And the thing is, the show totally ignores all this, like inflation and
Currency changes and all that.
yeah, like it all just doesn't exist in their universe.
It's so weird. I mean, then if this was like a real game
right.
played out over years,
Yeah.
you'd think that prize money would have to like adjust, you know,
Yeah.
to keep up with the times.
I think so. It feels like a very deliberate choice by the creators, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
are they trying to tell us something?
It really makes you wonder, right?
Yeah, because that disconnect from reality, I think it adds to the show's whole unsettling atmosphere, you know? It's like they are saying money is just a tool in this messed up game. And like its actual value in the real world just doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that honestly makes my skin crawl a little bit.
Right.
But let's imagine for a second
Yeah.
that you, listening right now, suddenly win this crazy amount of money.
All right, I like where this is going.
Yeah. How different would your life be?
That's a good question. Well, to give you some perspective, the average monthly salary in South Korea is about 3.9 million won.
Okay.
And that works out to be about, give or take, 2,600 US dollars.
So wait, hold on. If my math is right, 45.6 billion won.
Yeah.
That's like over 974 years
What?
of the average person's salary in South Korea. That's insane.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing when you put it like that.
It's wild.
It really puts things in perspective, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it really highlights how desperate these players are. Like, you start to understand why someone might risk their life for a chance at that much money.
Yeah. It definitely makes you reconsider what's at stake. And speaking of stakes, let's talk about the cost of living.
Ooh, yes.
Specifically, in a place like Seoul. You know, I was actually looking at some articles about like rent prices in Seoul. And at first glance, they honestly seemed pretty reasonable.
Until you factor in Jung-jae, right?
Yes. It's a real game changer.
Oh, tell me about it. It's a super unique system they have in South Korea, and honestly, it took me a while to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things you have to experience to really grasp.
Yeah, it's like instead of paying rent every month, you give this giant lump sum of money up front to the landlord.
Like a massive security deposit.
Right. And we're not talking about a couple $1,000s here. Like, this is serious cash. Oh yeah, the average Jong-jae cost is a crazy 423 million won.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's almost 300,000 US dollars.
So even if rent seems low when you first look at it, most people still need to pay this enormous Jong-jae payment up front. And that's just a huge barrier for most Koreans.
Absolutely. It creates like a real divide in the housing market. It makes it incredibly hard for people to get a place of their own.
But our Squid Game winner, they wouldn't have to worry about that, right?
Not at all. With all that money, forget one apartment.
What?
We're talking over 100 apartments.
Anyway.
With 45.6 billion won, they could cover the average Jong-jae for over 100 apartments.
That's wild. So all those cheap rents, they don't really seem so cheap anymore, do they?
Nope. Not when you see the bigger picture.
And it really underscores how much power that kind of wealth has in a place like Seoul.
It's a whole different world.
It really is.
And while we're talking real estate,
Yeah.
let's not forget about buying a place, owning a home in a city like Seoul.
Ooh, yeah.
It's a big dream for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, because who hasn't thought about owning like a fancy apartment in Seoul after watching Squid Game?
Right.
But the thing is, in Seoul, the average person would have to save every single one they earn
Whoa, really?
for over 15 years to buy an apartment.
No way.
Yeah. And that's without spending anything else. Like nothing.
So like 15 years of just saving without buying anything just to buy an apartment.
Yep. That's the reality for a lot of people in Seoul.
Man, that's intense. It really makes you think about the struggles people face, huh?
Yeah, it's tough. But okay, let's imagine our Squid Game winner gets their eyes on, I don't know, Gangnam.
Ooh, Gangnam, fancy.
Yeah, exactly. That ultra trendy district.
Yeah.
You know, from Gangnam Style.
I see what you're doing.
But would they even be able to afford that? Even with the Squid Game winnings?
Well, the average apartment in Gangnam costs about 2.25 billion won,
Okay.
which is a good chunk of change, definitely. But for our Squid Game winner,
It's nothing.
pretty much, they could get a super nice place in Gangnam and still have millions left over.
It's crazy to think about, right?
It totally changes your perspective.
It really does.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not even just the grand prize that makes the show say something about money. Even those smaller amounts they show, like that 500 million won bonus they offer in season 2,
Okay, yeah.
which is, by the way, still a huge amount of money, like
Yeah.
340,000 US dollars.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's life-changing for most people,
Absolutely.
right? And it makes you think about like what someone would actually do for that kind of money if they were really desperate.
Yeah, no kidding. I think it really shows how desperate people can get and the tough choices they have to make when money is involved.
Yeah, totally. So, okay, we've got this huge prize money, the crazy housing market in Seoul, and all these desperate players. It's obvious that Squid Game isn't just about survival, right? It's about way more than that.
Right.
It's about wealth and inequality and what people will do for money. But where do we go from here? Like, what's the next level?
Well, I think we have to talk about how the show criticizes the whole system, right?
Okay.
And to do that, we have to talk about the people who have the most money in the world, like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. The big guys.
Yeah. Because it's kind of ironic, right?
What is?
The show criticizes the system that made these guys billionaires, but they're apparently fans of the show.
Whoa. So they're watching a show that's basically calling them out.
Pretty much. It's like the show is saying, hey, this is what's wrong with the world, and some of the people who benefit the most from it are watching and enjoying it.
That's wild. It's like looking in a mirror and not even recognizing yourself.
Exactly. And Elon Musk, with all his money, something like $400 billion, he's a perfect example of what the show is criticizing.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it. Gi-hun would have to win Squid Game over 12,700 times to have as much money as Elon Musk.
Whoa. Okay, that's a lot of games.
Right. And then there's Jeff Bezos. He makes more money in a single hour than Gi-hun wins in the whole Squid Game.
No way. Seriously.
Seriously. He earns like an estimated 2.75 billion won every hour.
That's mind-blowing. It's like a whole different universe of money.
It really is. It makes you question everything, doesn't it? Is Squid Game just entertainment, or is it trying to tell us something deeper about society?
Yeah, it's definitely food for thought. And speaking of food for thought, remember that whole Jin-zi system we talked about?
Oh, yeah. Right.
Okay, so full disclosure, when I first learned about it,
Yeah.
I totally fell for it. Like I saw those cheap rents in Seoul and I was like, sign me up.
Uh-huh. I get it.
But then you explained how Jin-zi works and it totally changed my mind.
It's easy to get tricked by those first impressions, right? Especially when we're talking about something as complex as the housing market.
Totally. And it just shows how money can create such different worlds for people. Like what seems affordable to one person can be totally out of reach for someone else.
It's a constant balancing act.
It really is. But going back to the actual game itself, there's one thing that always sticks with me.
What's that?
It's the way the prize money grows every time someone dies. Like literally, with each death, the pile of money gets bigger.
Ugh, I know. It's so messed up.
It's chilling.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying human life is only worth something when it's turned into cash.
Yeah, it's a really disturbing visual, isn't it? Like each person becomes just another number in the total prize money.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff. And in season 2, remember they introduced that voting system.
Oh yeah, where they can choose to split the money and leave.
Exactly. I really thought more people would go for that. Like who wouldn't want to walk away alive and with a ton of money?
I know, right? Seemed like a no-brainer.
But then you see how strong the temptation is. Like everyone's thinking, what if I could win the whole thing?
It's like that saying, greed is good. But in Squid Game, it's more like greed is gonna get you killed.
Totally. And it makes you think, what would you do in that situation? Would you take the guaranteed money and run? Or would you gamble it all?
It's a tough choice, man, and it makes you question your own values. What would you be willing to risk for financial security? It's a question that goes beyond the show.
Definitely. And even the people who did leave, do you think they really escaped the game?
What do you mean?
Like, yeah, they have the money, but can you really just forget about what you went through?
Yeah.
Seeing all that violence, losing people you knew.
That's a good point. Money can't fix everything. It can't buy peace of mind.
Right. And even Gi-hun, he won the whole thing. But he's not exactly happy, is he?
Not at all. He's dealing with guilt, loneliness, and he wants revenge on the people who run the game.
Which brings us to another interesting thing about Gi-hun in season 2. Remember his hair? It's bright red. Do you think that was just for looks, or was there something more to it?
Good question. I've heard different theories.
Like what?
Some people say it shows how angry he is, like he's ready to fight back against the system.
Okay, yeah.
Others say it's a symbol of the trauma he's been through, like a reminder of all the blood he's seen.
Both interesting ideas.
Yeah, for sure. It's open to interpretation.
Yeah. But I kind of like the rebellion theory, especially with how Gi-hun acts in season 2. He's not just trying to forget about the game. He wants to take it down.
Totally. And that brings up another question. Can he actually do it?
What do you mean?
Like, can Gi-hun, with all his money and his new mission, actually make a difference? Can he dismantle the system that Squid Game is criticizing? Or is he fighting a losing battle? That's a big question, isn't it? Like, can one person, even with that much money, actually change a whole system?
It really makes you think, right? Like, what would you actually do with all that money?
Yeah, I mean, Gi-hun could definitely do some good with it.
Like what?
Well, he could, give it to organizations that are fighting poverty or helping people with debt. He could even start his own foundation, He definitely has enough money to make a real difference in people's lives.
Yeah, like he could be a real-life superhero using money from this messed-up game to fight the system that created it.
Right. But the thing is, the problem is so much bigger than just one person.
Oh, yeah, true.
I mean, Squid Game doesn't just show us individuals struggling.
Right.
It's about a system where the super rich have all the power and they control everything. It's a global thing. It's not something you can just fix by throwing money at it.
So even if Gi-hun spent every last one trying to fight the system, he might not even make a dent.
Yeah, that's the tough part. It's like trying to stop a tsunami with a bucket.
Yeah, kinda. So it's not just about how much money Gi-hun has.
Right.
It's about what he does with it. And even then, there's no guarantee he'll succeed.
Exactly. It's like the show is reminding us that real change, like systemic change, is super hard. It takes more than just one person being generous. It takes lots of people working together, changing laws, and being willing to challenge the way things work.
So it's kind of like the show is saying, yeah, Gi-hun won the game, but the real game, the fight against inequality, that's just beginning. And we all have a part to play in that.
I agree with that. It's like a call to action for everyone watching. Like, don't just sit back and watch the show, go out and do something about it.
Right. Question the rules. Don't just try to win a game that's already rigged.
Yeah.
So we'll leave you with this.
Okay.
What would you do if you were Gi-hun? How would you use that 45.6 billion won to fight the system? Could you actually make a real difference? Or would you end up being part of the problem? It's something to think about. And that wraps up our Squid Game Money Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.